Today we're creating a tier list, but this tier list is no regular tier list. This is the ultimate beginner guide to operators, who you should play and why. Because as a beginner, the best operators in the game are probably way too hard for you to make them effective. So we're going to show you the best and most effective operators for low ranks and beginner players. So that would be simplest to use, but also the most effective and strongest operators that are also simple to use. So this is going to be both the easiest operators and the best operators for lower skill levels. So let's get into it. Starting off, we have Ace. Ace is a very simple hard breacher. You have claymores, you have breaching chargers, which are both very beginner friendly tools, but then the gadget itself is just the strongest of the hard breachers. You can do it at range, you can do it quickly, you can do it safely. He also has some versatility that you can throw into your loadout, and you'll learn a lot about the game by playing Ace. Ace is a top 10 operator when it comes to beginner ops as well. Plus, he's also one of the best hard breachers in the game. He's S tier for beginners and S tier for pros, so he's in the S tier. Next up, we have Alibi. Alibi's fairly beginner friendly. Her gun doesn't have too much recoil. It's very easy to just place her gadgets, and then they're there, they exist. A lot of lower rank players will shoot the Alibis, giving you information of where they are. However, that information is hard to capitalize on as a newer player. She's fine, she's okay for beginners. I'd probably give her like a B tier, because you can still run around and just shoot people and focus on the basics of the game, but you also have an ability that is still doing something, and it's not distracting you from things, it's not actively making you worse, which some of these operators will. Next up, we have Amaru. Amaru has a great loadout for beginners. You've got flashbangs, which will teach you how to play make. You've got the SMG-11, which is a fantastic gun, or that secondary shotgun, so you can kind of learn different destruction and what leads to where, but you've also got an ability that's going to catch a lot of people off guard at lower ranks. In terms of beginner play, I think Amaru is probably another operator that I'd put in the B tier. She's okay, she's not the best operator ever, and the higher you climb, the worse she gets, so playing her from the start, you might run into some issues later on. She's fine, but I would probably put her like B tier for beginners. Then we have Aruni. Aruni, like Alibi, you can just place your gates down. So she has these Surya gates, you can place them on door frames, and it's just instant information, and it stops the attackers from just walking in. So this is an operator that is a place and play trap operator. And you're going to hear me talk about these operators a lot because they are very, very good for beginners. Because then in the prep phase, all you have to do is put your stuff down, and you don't really need to think about it anymore. You can focus on the fundamentals of the game, on the basics, and that's going to be what helps you succeed at these lower ranks. So as a Aruni, you're going to place your gates down, but she only really has that DMR or the Roni, both of which are not super beginner friendly just because DMRs are a little tougher to use. At least if you're on console, maybe they aren't as tough on PC because there is no recoil, but having that trigger finger well developed is going to make her better. It's going to make her easier to get kills with. I think she is a very solid beginner operator. I'm going to put her in the A tier. Ash is next. She's got the R4C. She's a 3-speed, and she just has a very, very straightforward and simple ability. Once you learn the recoil of the R4C, which is really just pull down, most of the guns in Siege are. It's just that they have a lot more recoil than other games. But if you can control this gun, she is going to be an S tier beginner operator because it's very straightforward. You push in, you gain control, and then you use your Ash Charge to just blow up what's ever in your way, making her a great beginner choice. Azami is next. Azami is going to be a very difficult operator to play well. Her guns are fine. She has impacts for playmaking or barbed wire for information, which, you know, I think both are very beginner friendly. However, the placement of the Kibas relies on a lot of strong map knowledge and understanding how to play off of them. From a beginner perspective, you're going to get nearly no value out of these, or you might even be hurting your team with the placements of the Kibas. So I'm going to be putting Azami in the F tier for beginners. Do not play her until you understand the maps and you understand how to gain positional advantages well. We have Bandit next. Bandit is going to be a great beginner operator. You just place your bandits on reinforcements, and all of a sudden the other team has to work to open the reinforcements. Since that's really your goal on the defense, is make the attack work harder. And the more you can do that, the stronger your defense is going to be. So by placing bandits, again, you have this place and play style on defense where you just place them down, then you run around and shoot people. You got the MP7 and a C4, both which are great for beginners. So Bandit's going to be very, very strong for beginners. I'm going to put him in the A tier, not quite S, just because his ability might not do quite as much as you would hope. Blackbeard is going to be next. Blackbeard is an S tier operator, one of the most annoying and strongest characters in the game. However, if you're under like Diamond or Emerald, he's probably not going to be as effective because he is so challenging to play well. I think you can get some use out of him. I think he can still be strong just because you're going around, and even if you're just ADSing everywhere, you have this natural cover from the shield, which allows you to have an advantage in gunfights no matter where you're positioned. So that can help from a beginner perspective, but from an other perspective, it's just he's a little too difficult, and because his gun is one of the worst on attacks, it makes him less beginner friendly, so I'm going to put him in the D tier. Blitz is next, another shield up, which requires a lot of really strong map knowledge because he thrives in close range and is really at a massive disadvantage at long ranges. Plus, his shield is smaller than like Monty, for example, or even the Blackbeard, so he's more exposed to bullets and getting chipped away at, which makes him very difficult to play from a shield perspective. I'm going to put him in the C tier. I think it's even harder to play Blitz than Blackbeard. I have these backwards, Blackbeard C and Blitz is D. But yeah, I'm going to put Blitz in the D tier. I think he's just a harder shield operator to learn and to master, and as a beginner, I would not recommend playing him. Brava is next. Brava is a fairly good beginner operator. I just think the hard part here is knowing when to play Brava, because as a beginner, you might not know the operators that she counters, and if they're bringing a bunch of operators and you don't know if Brava counters them or not, you probably aren't going to get use out of Brava. You can hack default cams, but you probably don't know how to use those default cams to their maximum potential, or even to like a certain degree of that, so that you can get a lot of value out of it. And really, that's what we're looking for as a beginner. Maximum value with low effort. With Brava, you can get a lot of value, but it requires a lot of knowledge and a lot of effort and a lot of good droning, and it's just more difficult to actually use that to your advantage, so I am going to put her in the C tier. Buck is next. Very simple ability here. You have a shotgun and an AR. You can use both. You can dominate long and close ranges. He's going to be an excellent beginner operator because of how simple he is, but you're still getting the effectiveness out of his ability. Plus, you might learn to playmake, learn to throw a flash and push aggressively with the shotgun to seal that distance and shotgun them close. This is an excellent thing to learn as a beginner player. I am going to put Buck in the S tier. Capitao is next. 2 fires, 2 smokes, gone 6 hard breach tools. He's going to be a fairly decent beginner operator. You have all this utility which you can learn to use very well. Use the fires to push people out of positions. Use the smokes to cut off lines of sight. Use the hard breach tools to open reinforcements, right? These are all the basic things that you need to learn in Rainbow Six Siege. So those are all going to help you, plus you have the Gone 6 for destroying utility. So he has a bit of every single thing you need on attack that can help you learn all of these things. Plus, when you're in the lower ranks, you're not going to get punished as hard for maybe over peaking a bit to shoot that fireball, and you can really get the fundamentals down with an operator like this. He also has a great gun. I think Capitao is an excellent beginner operator. The only thing really holding you back with him is understanding the maps and understanding how to act off the info you already have to use the crossbow efficiently and effectively. So because of that, I think we're going to put him in the B tier. I think it'll be great, but maybe just a little difficult to get value out of his fire bolts and smoke bolts. Castle is next, and I am very adamant on Castle being a horrific beginner operator. I see so many people in these low ranks using Castle, and there are moments when Castle can be good in low ranks, but most of the time it's bad. If you're in a low rank and you don't understand map knowledge, either 1, do not pick Castle. You are going to be hurting your team and it's going to be bad, or 2, pick Castle and only Castle exterior doors and windows. A lot of the time Castle is hurting your team in these low ranks. We watch Spectating Nightmares and watch these low ranks play Castle consistently and consistently hurt themselves. So I'm going to put Castle in the D tier. I would put him in F tier, but if you are castling exterior doors and windows, he could be like a fairly useful operator, but that balances out to D tier, at least in my mind. Now we have Cav next. Cav as a beginner operator, not too bad. Most people are playing for kills anyway, so you can pick Cav, go for interrogations. People aren't going to be playing off each other very well at these low ranks, so you could definitely get away with it. However, you're not learning the fundamentals of the game as well as you could be with this op, so Cav is an op that forces you to play for kills. Like, you want to go for a single pushing attacker, take them out, and get the interrogation. That's where her value comes from, which doesn't allow you to learn how to play map control on the defense. You're missing that aspect of the game, which is something so incredibly powerful that I believe a lot of beginners should focus on learning. So if you're playing Cav, just understand that you're not learning some of the essentials of the game, but she can be really good in these lower ranks. So I would put her in the C tier for these reasons. I think there's better operators that you should be picking as a beginner, but as Cav, you're not really getting that value. Clash is next. Clash is the undisputed strongest operator in the game. She is so broken and so annoying but nobody knows how to play her right. So it doesn't really matter in this case. Now, as a beginner, Clash can be really good because not only is she hard to kill already, but she's going to be even harder to kill when you have this like lack of skill. So if you want to play Clash, you can as a beginner. I just think there's better operators, again, to learn how to play the game because she has this unique play style that you need to understand. So she's hard to learn. She's going to be good, but you're not really getting the essentials of what you need as a beginner. And again, that's what I want to default back to because I truly believe that the more you understand the fundamentals and the essentials, the better you'll get overall and the higher your skill floor will become. So the more we can work on that, the better you're going to be. In terms of beginner ops, I'm going to put her in the C tier. Maybe no, I'm going to put her low B just because you will get the value out of her early on. As long as you're just kind of walking around with the shield and not dying, because if you're dying with her, yeah, you know, I'm going to put in C tier. It's too hard. She's too hard. She's too hard to play right, I think. Deimos is next. Now, Deimos has a very, very strong ability if you know how to play him, and it requires a lot of technical skill. It requires a lot of aim, map awareness, and knowledge, and tracking locations of certain people and information before even using his ability. He is one of the hardest operators. I think he's the hardest attacker in the game. I'm definitely going to put him in the F tier. I think he's even harder to play for new players than Azami. Now, we have Denari next, the newest operator in the game. You know, Deimos is the hardest attacker, but Denari is the hardest operator ever. He is so difficult to play off his trips well. I just don't play him. Just literally do not play him unless you are Diamond or Champion. I would say that he is the most difficult operator in the game, and you should not play him in general. Even the players I have seen playing him, content creators, some of the best players in the game, they're still not playing him well, which says a lot about how difficult he is as an operator. So we're going to put him in the F tier. He's very, very hard to play right, but I think he might be strong at some point once everyone kind of understands how he works. Doc is next. Doc for beginners is going to be an exceptional pick. I am going to be putting Doc high S tier for beginners, and here's why. If you're playing Doc, you are learning the basics of holding space. You are learning the basics of team play, playing off your teammates, holding space, and also just the fundamentals of defense, reinforcing, creating rotates on the site and head holes, and understanding how one-way angles work. He's going to help you learn the maps and learn how to play the game at the most basic level. Plus, if you're in the low ranks, people aren't hitting headshots anywhere near as often as these higher ranks. You're going to survive a lot more gunfights, and those stims are going to be very useful for keeping you in the round. Then you can go do it again and learn more. So he's going to be one of the best operators for beginners to learn how to play the game, and that's why he's putting the S tier. You're going to survive, you're going to stim up, you're going to survive another one, stim up again, and now you're just consistently in the fight. Just make sure you heal your teammates, okay, pal? Dokkaebi is next. Dokkaebi is really, really strong at high ranks. From a lower rank perspective, she does have that DMR, so it might be a little more challenging, especially on attack, trying to peek into angles with the DMR. It's not the easiest thing to do. And then you have the SMG-12, which does have a lot of recoil, so if you're a beginner, that might be a challenging gun to control. However, if you can master that gun, it is one of the best SMGs in the game. I mean, it is so good for killing people. However, the thing that really makes Dokkaebi really strong in pretty much any rank is that when you call the phones, everyone on your team can act on this information. You don't have to know callouts at a low rank if you're playing Dokkaebi because everyone knows where they are because they can hear them. Maybe because we're beginners, so maybe we can't hear, we can't pinpoint the sound. So that's another thing to consider. Honestly, I think Dokkaebi's okay in these low ranks. I would probably also throw her in the C tier. Just gonna be a more challenging operator to play, but if you can learn her well, she is gonna be really, really effective. It just might require some more knowledge before diving into her abilities. Echo is next. Echo is good, but he is hard. He is hard to play well. He is an information op at the end of the day, and if you don't know how to use the defaults properly, maybe Echo isn't going to help much either, because the default cams give you information of where the enemies are coming from, and you have to act on that information. The hardest part of playing an info op is acting on the information, or else it's not providing you with value. Now, if you're in the lower ranks and you're playing Echo, you can just kind of stun people and waste their time and disorient them when your team are taking gunfights, which is good for learning how to do team play. But you also need to learn how to act off the info. He's a little more challenging. He's not insanely challenging, but I would put him in the C tier. He's not like these place and play operators that make the game so much easier. Ella is next. Here we go. A place and play operator. The only downside to Ella is she does have a difficult gun to use, which is the Scorpion. If you're a beginner, I'd probably recommend even using just the shotgun, which is really, really lethal. All you need to do is put your mines down, and when they go off, you swing off of them. It's that easy. You hear them go off, you peek with the shotgun, you blast them away. You have just made your way with Ella. Now, again, guns are a little weaker. Might not be playing playing off the mines as effectively, so I'm going to probably put her in the B tier, kind of around this Alibi position. Next, we have Fenrir. Fenrir is another place and play info operator, so he's going to blind the attackers. However, playing off these mines is a little more challenging than a lot of these other things because they don't last very long, and you have to know the timings really well to peek when they're blind and not before and not after, so that you're not getting your cheeks clapped. But you could just use Fenrir, placing the mines down, activating them, and then just having them there for info so you kind of know what's going on. Now, you do have to switch between the mines and organize the mines and then position yourself accordingly and not over peak, or else you're going to get shot in the side of the head, which makes him a lot more difficult. But he's got the MP7, which is nice. Overall, he's a little harder than these B tier operators. I'm going to put him in the C tier. I think he can be strong, but I wouldn't recommend him for beginners. Finka is next. Like Doc, you are getting heals with Finka just on attack, which is nice. And like Doc, you can just stay alive longer. Plus, she has the LMG, which is a fantastic gun. It doesn't have too much recoil. You just pull down and you just mow people down. It does a lot of damage. You don't have to hit headshots. You have grenades, which teaches you how to just blow up utility. You throw a grenade, you push in, you hit stim, you help your team. Everyone's happy when you're playing Finka. She's definitely an S tier operator for beginners. Flores is next. Now, Flores has 4 explosive drones that you probably won't need at all as a beginner because people don't use that much utility in the low ranks and they don't know how to use it well, and most of these drones you won't get value out of. I think he can be okay. He's kind of like Brava, but maybe a little better. I think I'd put him in the B tier. His gun is fine. He's fine. He's okay. He's going to be an okay pick for you, okay? Frost is next. Now, Frost is going to be pretty solid for beginners. Her gun has very low recoil, but it also has a low rate of fire. So it's, I don't know, it's a bit of a trade-off, but you're probably aiming for the body anyway. As a beginner, you can kind of work your way up to the head over time, but if you're aiming for the body, it does a lot of damage, and it's pretty decent. Plus, her traps, you just place them in the prep phase and instant value yet again. The biggest thing is the placement of the traps, which a lot of beginners mess up, is they just put them on the floor randomly. You want to be putting these under windows, okay? Under windows or on staircase platforms, because when people are walking up staircases, they're looking up the stairs and they're going to back into the frost mat. When they're hopping in the window, it's hidden under the window ledge. So if you play her like this, she is going to be a very, very strong beginner operator. So I'm going to put her in the A tier just because the placements are slightly, maybe slightly challenging, not quite S tier, but she is going to be very, very effective as a beginner. We got Fuze next. Now, we all know Fuze is a fantastic beginner operator, okay? You go above a bomb site, you're just blowing everything up. You're probably taking people out as well, especially in these lower ranks. People just sit on the bomb site. Like, it's kind of free to just fuse a castle barricade and kill half the team, right? He also has the AK-12, best gun in the game. Not too much recoil on that either. Throw the flash hider on if you're struggling, okay? He is going to be an S tier op. This gun's so good. I mean, it's like just like Ace. I mean, he's just going to be great. He's just going to be a great character, and then you can even run the hard breach tool so you can still have that hard breach potential. Glaz is next. Probably would not recommend Glaz at all for beginners. I mean, I would put him D tier as well. You only have 2 smokes, and you're not going to get much value out of just a thermal scope. I mean, people are pretty easy to see in this game. You don't really need the thermal sight, and if you're picking Glaz, you're just missing out. What the hell? What was I saying? Oh yeah, if you're playing Glaz, you're just missing out on the potential that other operators give you. He's not going to teach you much. He's not really a great pick, and he's just a D tier operator. Goyo is next. Goyo's fire is great for area control. It's great when you place the Goyos on barricades because they'll automatically just break. Same kind of concept as Castle here. You just want to put them on exterior doors and windows because sometimes it can hurt your team if you're putting them in the wrong locations. He's not as like completely screwed as Castle can be in some of these situations, but he's still not the strongest beginner op. He does have the Vector, which is really nice. He also has got the TCSG shotgun, but outside of that, I do think there are a lot better options to pick than Goyo. I'm going to move him slightly. I'm going to put him in the B tier. He's going to be B tier. Gridlock. Whew. F90 is maybe even better than the AK-12. I'm not going to lie. This gun is actually really good. I played so much Gridlock on my Copper to Champ run in 2 days in the first of the season, and I was really liking her. So, I don't know. I've kind of got a sweet spot for Gridlock these days, but as a beginner, she's going to be fantastic. She's going to create a lot of noise. You're going to have a lot of this playmaking utility, so you just kind of throw Gridlocks down on flanks or at people just to cover the sound of you walking, and you're going to learn kind of a lot of essential skills that this game requires. Plus, you've got one of the greatest guns. I'm going to put her in the A tier. I think she's going to be a very, very solid beginner operator pick. We've got Grim next, who is an information op. Now, playing Grim is going to be a lot tougher in low ranks because you need to know where to shoot the bees, how to shoot the bees, when to bounce the bees. You also need to know how to play off of the bees, meaning pushing through and pre-firing off the pings. These are things that a lot of new players don't really understand very well. You're not going to get probably as much value out of a Grim as you would a Capitao, and they do have similar play styles and similarities to how they play, but Grim is just a little more challenging. But you have a slightly better gun. You still have the hard breach tool, so you're still going to learn some of these things that Capitao has, and he's still going to be solid, but he's just not as good of a pick as these B tier operators. I would put him in the C tier. Just again, playing off that info can be a little challenging as a newer player. Hibana's going to be next. Another hard breacher, another range breacher. She's going to be great for opening hatches. Her guns are maybe not the best for beginners. The Type 89 has a little bit of recoil, but she has the flashbangs, so you're going to learn some playmaking potential. Her ability is just not quite as good as these other hard breachers, especially from a beginner perspective with that gun. Hard breaching, however, is a super important thing that you want to learn as a beginner, so she's still like a good pick. She's still a good pick. The other hard breachers I just recommend more, so I'm going to put her in the B tier and say, yeah, you can play Hibana. You're going to learn quite a bit. She's just not as easy as some of the other guys and also not as good. Iana's going to be next. Another info op like Grim, but even harder to use well. You have to know how to capitalize off this information. You have to understand the timings of when they could rotate after your information has expired, and you're really not going to get pretty much any use out of the Iana clones in low ranks. Just stick to learning how to drone. If I'm being honest, even that might be too hard at low ranks. So, Iana, probably not necessary. She does have fine guns though. I'm going to put her in the D tier because I think her ability, you're not getting the value that you might think you're getting at a lower rank. We've got IQ next, and IQ has a good ability. You're probably just suck with it, okay? What I see a lot of players do, and this is low ranks, this is middle ranks, this is past beginner stage, is they will open their IQ scanner, look at everything, and then do nothing. So they are literally gaining this information, not relaying it to their team, not doing anything with it, and then all of a sudden they have achieved nothing. Like, we are not using IQ right at low ranks. The only upside is she has a good gun and grenades, and that's about it. Good gun, 3-speed grenades. That's really all you're looking to do with IQ at these ranks. If you're playing her without using her ability at all, you're probably going to get a lot more value, just like a B tier, good gun, run around, shoot people, learn how to attack in the most basic way. But what happens is a lot of people pull out her scanner, lose the time advantage, lose the concepts of map control that they need to learn, and then they kind of blunder. So because of that, I'm going to put her in like C tier. Like, yes, you can run around, she's got a good gun, she's going to be beginner friendly, but there's a lot of mistakes that beginners can make when it comes to playing this operator. Plus, the higher up you go, kind of the worse pick she is, unless you're specifically countering the other team because they're bringing a Valkyrie, for example, or an Echo, or stuff that is completely screwing your team over, which you're just not going to find at these low ranks. These low rank players aren't going to be using Valkyrie extremely effectively, or these info ops extremely effectively, so you don't really need the counter info op because of those reasons. Next, we have Jackal. Jackal, from a beginner perspective, is going to be a really, really good operator. I'm going to put him in the A tier. Here's the thing about Jackal versus other ops. Other operators, or just in general, it's hard to gather information that's actually going to help you, okay? Clearing a map with drones is something that is not going to be effective as a beginner. But what you can do with Jackal is you can just walk through the map. You can just walk through the map with a scanner on. Now you're going to know if someone's kind of in the area. You're going to have a much better chance, at least, of seeing if someone was running through the map. Now, there is still a lot of risk to that, but it's a much better option than what a lot of people do, which is just blindly walk through the map without the Jackal scanner, right? So playing Jackal is going to help you gain map control, which is what I've been kind of promoting throughout this video. And by gaining map control, you will have positional advantages that you wouldn't have before. Plus, his guns are very, very good. He has smoke grenades, which allow you to block lines of sight and push further. But Jackal is going to be an operator that very simple, easy to use. If you see footprints, scan them. You're going to get some sort of information, but that information is actually a lot more helpful than forcing informations in specific areas like with the Grim. So this is a situation where the information is actually going to be really good as a beginner. Jager is next. Jager has a very, very simple ability. You just place the ADSs down, they cover those positions, you sit in those positions, now you can't get flashbang, you can't get grenaded, and you have a layer of safety added to your spot. This is going to be really good. You can learn how to play positionally and hold a specific area, which is an important skill to learn. Plus, his gun is okay. His gun is okay, so you can kind of sit around that. The only downside is you're not getting any trap info, so they could just walk up and shoot you in the back depending on where you're playing, and knowing which spots to play as Jager is also slightly challenging. For those reasons, I'm going to be putting him in the B tier. We have Cade next, and Cade is very, very similar to Bandit from a beginner level. You put your Cade claws down to cover breaches, etc., and then it is harder to open said breach. However, he's slower than Bandit. They both have C4s, and his Cade claws might be a little more tricky for the enemies to break. You're probably not doing invincible claws, you're probably not Cade tricking at this level, but if you are, he's going to be a slightly better operator than Bandit. And the more you play Cade instead of Bandit, the more you're going to learn where to place his claws, how to play him, and the different niche perks that he has over Bandit. And because he is just generally a stronger operator than Bandit, generally, because sometimes Bandit is better for Bandit tricking, for example, I'm going to put him in the A tier, just above Bandit. Like, he's almost a one-to-one situation from this beginner level perspective. Callie is next. Callie's a hard operator to use right, but she also decreases in strength over the ranks or over time. So the higher in skill you climb, the worse Callie gets, kind of. Now, she promotes this habit of baiting, where you just sit and hold angles, and that's not something you want to do on attack. I think Callie teaches you all the wrong ways to play the game, which is why I would not recommend her to anyone. Now, she can get rid of wall denial, but Thatcher is going to be just a much better option overall. I think if you're going to play Callie, you are probably going to hurt your game more than you're going to help it. So I am going to put her in the D tier. Probably don't pick her and just play someone else. Like Kapkan. Even though he's on the other side, he's a defender, not an attacker, he is very, very, very good for beginners. Now, why? Because you're going to get instant kills for free by just placing them around the map. Put them on doorways with a pipe. Go watch my little Kapkan guide where I show you how to actually play Kapkan in CJX, because that's going to be really effective. Kapkan is great for getting kills, and then once you do, you've got a really easy gun. Barbed wire for info, so you're just kind of running around with this gun, again, learning those fundamental skills that you need. I'm going to put him in the S tier for beginner operators, because you're going to get a lot of kills with the thing. He's going to make your whole life and game a lot easier. Now we have Lesion next. T5 SMG is a fantastic weapon, but the goo mines are also so good. They are information that you can play off of and play around, cover space in the map. They teach you how to play map control, but playing off that information can be difficult if you don't have the right headset or your audio game is maybe not as strong as you'd like it to be. Now, just in terms of coverage of the map, I think he is a very good operator. He doesn't have the shotgun anymore, which kind of makes him a little less strong and a little harder to master every single thing that he used to be able to do, but I still think he's a great pick for beginners. I'm going to put him in the A tier. Lion is probably the most misused operator in the entire game. People don't know how to play Lion, okay? If you're playing Lion in any rank below Emerald, you're probably playing him wrong, because Lion is about closing the distance of time that a defender can travel, and if that doesn't make sense, that's my point. The thing about Lion is when you drone someone to start is the first start. You have to drone someone out. You have to understand the distance they can move by the time you get off your drone and go and peek that spot. The longer that window is, the more distance they can travel. So Lion decreases that window size. So if you see someone, you can call a Lion scan. They can't travel as far in that same amount of time, which allows you to make the play to try and take them out, which is complicated and very difficult, and people don't do it right. Now, you can also call a Lion scan when your team is pushing for a final execute or synced up doing something, but again, this is something that is so difficult to achieve at these lower ranks. So if you're playing Lion as a beginner, your utility and / ability is probably completely useless. I am going to put him in the F tier. No, I'm going to put him in the D tier, because his guns are really good, and it's not going to hurt your game by playing him. You're just missing out, again, on stronger operators that you could be bringing. So that's what I'll leave it at there. We've got Maestro next. Maestro is he's okay as a beginner op. I don't like these operators for beginners that you're sitting on cameras, because it's hard to know when to get on cams and when not to get on cams, and where to get on cams and a safe way to do it without any risk, which is where a lot of people fumble and screw up. So yeah, I mean, he's okay. You have to know where to put the cams to have the most potential, I guess, and you also have to know how to use the cams, when to shock people, when not to, when that's the best option and when it's not. A lot of people are going to mess him up. A lot of people are going to play him wrong. I'm going to put him in the C tier. He's going to be okay. You got a good gun still. You got a bailiff. You're going to learn some map control and setup and stuff. He's just difficult to manage the time well as a new player. Maverick is going to be next. The uncounterable hard breacher is going to be very difficult for beginners, because you need to know, one, when to do lines of sight versus when to do a full rotate, or when to make the wall soft, which already is very difficult. He does have a good gun though, and flashbang. So if you're not using his ability that much, he's probably going to be like a B tier. But if you are trying to use his ability, which, I'm going to assume we're going to try to use their abilities because this is a tier list. And if that's the case, I'd probably put him in C tier. Difficult to use. You can get some value just by opening holes because then there's more pressure on the defense and more ways to kill them from. You could probably just make a hole and stick your face in it if you're a beginner, to be honest, because it is a lot quieter than a lot of the other things. But he's just not really fundamentally sound in this rank, and more risk than I would say you need as a beginner player. Melusi is next. Melusi is a place and play operator as well, and probably the strongest of all the place and play operators on defense, because you are going to get a sound cue anytime someone hits a Melusi, and you have 4 of them, and they're bulletproof unless the attackers are inside of them shooting them. If you just place them beside doorways and entrances or on the floor in front of them, you are going to create this like web of information that will keep you safe and give you the information to make good, smart decisions. All you have to do is peek when you hear someone walk into them, and now all of a sudden you have a major advantage in that gunfight. Her gun is easy to use. She has a secondary shotgun for size up. She has impact grenades, so you can take out shields or blow up stuff you might need to, make rotate holes, just the basics of the game. She is an S tier operator for sure. One of my top 10 beginner operators. If you haven't watched that video, go check it out after this, because it's going to explain how to play these operators a little bit better, at least the top 10. Now, Mira is our next operator, who is difficult to know where to place the mirrors because you need a lot of knowledge of default setups in order to place the mirrors well, but then also knowing how to play off the mirrors is hard. And then there's even more advanced things that you could do with Mira. I think she's okay for beginners, but not the best. I'm going to put her again in the C tier level, where it's like you're probably not getting as much value out of her as you would with other operators, but she's still like kind of fine. Next up we have Monty. Monty's probably the easiest shield to play as beginner, but the question is, are we being useful with that shield? Are we creating pressure? Are we calling out to our team? Do we even know the call outs to be able to do that? That's the thing about Monty, is he's an operator that organizes an attack and can see what's going on so that he can relay that to his team to make the plays that are needed to win the round. From a beginner perspective, you're going to be walking around the map trying to probably drop your shield and shoot people or knock them over and shoot them. You have to play him aggressive from a beginner standpoint, or else you're just 100% useless. I'm going to put him in the C tier. Mozzie is next. Mozzie, as a beginner operator, is actually going to be pretty solid. I mean, you have the Commando, which is a low rate of fire gun that deals a lot of damage. You just walk around the map shooting people, but you're also getting info denial, at least a little bit of it with his pests. So you're stopping the enemies from gaining info that they may have gained before. You can use those cams, which are difficult to use. I'd probably recommend just trying not to, or just setting them up in that immediate room and maybe checking for a second. Don't spend too much time on the cameras, but if you are just shooting the pest, running around shooting people, he's going to be pretty okay. I'm actually going to move him down to B tier, just because when those cams do get hacked, you might actually be hurting your game a little bit, but he can be okay. He can be good, and really just essentially, if you just play around the pests, use them as info denial, and then learn to hold map control, you're going to be doing fine. Great gun, C4, you'll be okay. Mute is next. Now, Mute is challenging maybe from the loadout perspective, but from the effectiveness of his gadget, he is fantastic. Is he one of the better beginner operators? I would say yes. I think Mute is an A tier beginner operator. You can mute breaches. At a beginner level, they're probably not going to know how to get around that. You can mute drone pass and sit on the mute jammers to counter Lion, to counter Blitz shields, to counter drones, smart, importantly. So you just sit there and you hold doorways with the shotgun. They walk in the shotgun, you shotgun them in the face. This is the best mute strategy all the way up to the top ranks. Again, he's that place and play operator. You put the jammers down, you play around them. You have the shotgun, which is so good. Even from a beginner perspective, it's a one pump at close range. Just stay close range, stay ADS, you're good to go. SMG-11, little harder to control. That's going to be the biggest struggle when it comes to playing mute. So keep that in mind. If you want to play mute, you probably have to practice the SMG-11. Go to the shooting range, play infinite ammo balls, and just line up round after round after round. You're going to get a lot better. He's going to be A tier, mainly because his gadget is just so strong, and he just takes your game knowledge up so high. Knock is next. Now, Knock is not good, ever. Really, ever. A lot of people say she's great in low ranks. Even in that case, the enemy team isn't using the cameras effectively enough to justify a Knock pick. because they're going to see you on the cams and they're going to have no idea how to even act off that info. They're not going to like hit you with a flank. They're not going to see for you from below. They might look in that direction, but it's not going to change too much. Plus, if they have any sort of ears, they will hear you on the camera anyway and still know you're there. So Nox's ability is completely useless. Now, you might like her gun as a beginner. You might. I really think Nox is hurting your game. You're not going to learn any sort of fundamentals by playing her besides to be a rat, which ratting can be good, but it's a very small component of the game that comes after you learn all of the core stuff. I'm honestly going to say Nox is a D tier operator for beginners. She's not doing anything for you. Probably don't pick her, okay? Nomad is a great beginner operator. Why? You just shoot the air jabs and now they're doing something. You shoot them at the ground, you could shoot them above a door, beside a door, at people, and all of a sudden you have map control. You have control of an area because of your air jab, and that's something that's going to be really, really good to learn. Plus, you have a really good gun. Just use the ARX. It's low recoil, high damage, very nice. Then you have flashbangs, which is again going to teach you how to how to make plays. And yeah, she's going to be a solid operator for beginners. Next up, we have Oryx, whose ability is just dashing. This isn't going to really do much for you at a beginner level or top level. His ability really doesn't do too much. The nice part is it gives you the confidence to jump up a hatch and go for a flank. And I think as beginners, we kind of fear going for these flanks. We're scared to flank, but really there's a lot of opportunities at low ranks to get solid flanks, like game-winning flanks in. You just have to commit to it and gain the confidence to actually do it. Oryx is going to help boost that a little more. Plus you have the T5, which is a great gun. The new Reaper Mark II you can throw on as a secondary, or the Bailiff and learn some sight setup. I think he's going to be an okay pick. I think he's a fine pick for beginners. Again, allowing you to focus on the basics while giving you the confidence to kind of learn some of those extra plays, like going for those big flanks. So I'm going to put it in the B tier. Osa is going to be next. Osa is an operator beginners love, dude. They love this shield for some reason. And I see why, because you can get a lot of freebies by just setting up a shield and waiting for the defenders to over peek and then quick peeking up and getting an easy kill. She can be okay, but the biggest problem I see with her when you're a beginner is the baiting problem. This is the same problem we have with Callie's. We sit behind the shield and we stop and we wait, and we're waiting for the defense to mess up rather than learning how to force them into disadvantages and how to force them to lose. And by forcing them to lose, you are in turn forcing wins for yourself. So you can actually gain advantages by playing aggressive on attack. And as an attacker, you have to attack. You have to make your way to the bomb site. If you're sitting on a shield baiting for kills, you're not doing that. And I am going to put her in the D tier because of it. I think, yeah, just the baiting thing is so important to me that I'm going to drop her to the D tier. Pulse is next. Pulse, another info op. Not passive info like our trap operators, but active info like our active info operators. We have to get on the the scanner, look at someone, and now you have to decide, what do I do with this information? And that's a higher level of thinking than most beginners have. Understanding how to play off that information is something that people will lack at this level. So that information by default is not doing anything for you. It's not allowing you to make decisions and make plays that win you rounds. It's just information that you're gaining for the sake of gaining it, which is actually hurting you because now you're vulnerable while gathering that information because you're sitting there with a scanner on your face instead of your gun out ready to shoot people. So I think from a beginner level, Pulse is very hard. Plus calling out, knowing what you're looking at on the floor above you and what room that is, and knowing what to say to your teammates is also very difficult, so I would not recommend him. Ram is going to be next. Now, Ram is an operator that teaches you vertical play. You open above the bomb site. Like Fuze, you can open up a lot of stuff, you can play above the bomb site and add pressure from above is what I was trying to say. Fuze can't open stuff. But by opening the floor, you're adding that same sort of pressure that forces the defenders to move around, which helps your team get more kills. And if you learn how to help your team more, you will have more success long run. Now, she also has the R4C, which is really good, and flashbangs for playmaking. She is a little slow, but that's okay because we like the extra health at this level. I think Ram is an operator that's going to be very good for beginners, opening up floors, opening up doorways, adding a lot of value and giving your team a lot of value very easily. You're just throwing it down, busting open a floor or busting open a door or a castle or breaking barbed wire or whatever it is you need, and you can play her kind of in this versatile fashion that's going to be very, very effective. So I'm going to put her in the A tier, solid beginner operator pick. Next is Rora, which is like Castle on attack, which means you're probably going to hurt your team more than you're going to help them. She's fine, but she's very difficult. I am going to put her in the D tier with Castle, right? Neighbors, couple of neighbors right here. Wouldn't recommend. Very, very difficult. Next up is Rook. Like Doc, you're getting an instant advantage by playing Rook, which is health. Health advantage, self-revive for your whole team. This is something that's going to really help your teammates at these low ranks. And Rook's got the secondary Reaper now, so you could run shotgun Reaper combo. The Reaper is a little tough, admittedly, so maybe that's actually not the best idea. Maybe run the MP5 or P90 and then just run like a pistol. But this armor is going to be great. I mean, he's a fantastic beginner operator. This is an operator that you're going to learn how to play the game with. You're going to learn all of the basics that you need. Just walking around, shooting people, playing off the information that you're gaining from the default cams or the space that you have in the map. Very basic, extra health, very nice. No downside to picking Rook as a beginner. He's going to be S tier. Next, we have Sense. And Sense is very, very difficult to play well. So difficult that I wouldn't even recommend them in Champion, okay? Now, in Pro League, Sense is viable sometimes, but also still really niche. Playing Sense well is very difficult. Most of the time, these Sense wells will probably hurt you more than they'll help. Plus, their guns are really not the best. I mean, 417 is a great weapon, but again, it's that DMR. DMR is on attack, not ideal. The other gun, the AR, very bouncy. I don't know. Not going to recommend that one either. I think Sense is like an F tier pick in beginner territory because of just how difficult they are to use well. Now, you could create some chaos. You could just throw them down and you might get lucky and they'll be good. Most of the time, I'd say, let's steer clear, guys. Let's steer clear of that. Next is Sentry. Sentry in beginner, going to be solid. You got the TCSG or you got the Commando, which are both very straightforward guns. Point, click, and shoot. And then you have the option between any two secondary gadgets. And I think this is really, really good for beginners because what you're going to learn is how to combo gadgets together. And if you can learn that I can put a beeper here and a C4 underneath and blow the C4 off of the beeper, you're going to think, oh, now I can do this with my teammates' abilities. And then you'll learn that I can do this by just picking Bandit and then using my C4 off of my teammates' proximity, and you'll learn more coordination together as teammates. So Sentry, by default, is an exceptional beginner operator. You're going to learn coordination of abilities, which is incredibly strong and incredibly good. Sledge is next. Sledge is going to be another S tier operator for beginners. The LA is very, very manageable. That low rate of fire, high damage gun that we're looking for. Also has the sledgehammer, so you can just bust down castles. You can break a ton of things. You have grenades, so you can break shields, barbed wire, Melusis. Any traps you need to break, just grenade them. Any castles, just sledge them. Any barricades, you can sledge those too. You're going to learn just break stuff. And learning to just break whatever is in your face is a very, very good thing to learn. Smoke is next. Smoke is a very challenging operator, but very strong. Smoke is good for beginners in a sense that you will learn how to play off your utility. If you can't play off the smokes, you will be garbage, okay? You gotta know a lot to play Smoke well. At this point in time, I'm not gonna recommend them. At a previous point, I'd say play Smoke, get good with them. You're gonna learn all the things you need to be good. But now I'm kind of learning like, ooh, this might actually be too hard to actually learn the things that you're hopefully going to learn eventually. So I would say put Smoke on the back burner when you start. Definitely pick him up later though, because he is extremely good once you understand map knowledge, you understand playmaking. But for now, I gotta do my boy Smoke dirty and put him in the D tier. Solus is next. Solus's ability is pretty garbage. I think most of us know that, but also you're probably not going to get good value out of it at a low level. If you can't get good value out of this ability in higher ranks where it's like even using her ability, you're not really doing much, then definitely at a low rank, you're definitely not doing anything at all. Now, she does have the P90. So that's cool, I guess. But other than that, I just don't think you should play her. Next up, we have Striker. Striker is the best beginner operator in the entire game because you are going to learn the same way as Sentry, how to coordinate your abilities, how to take specific things, how to open a wall when they have the Bandit, because you can EMP it and then hard breach it yourself. You have this ability to combine very powerful attacker utility and do it in a self-sufficient manner. Then you have the M4, which is a fantastic gun, super good for beginners too, and the shotgun, which will teach you how to open hatches, open walls, make pressure. Unlike Tachanka, who is ass. Tachanka, from a beginner's perspective, if you're playing the LMG, you can learn a lot of the essential site setup skills. So making rotates, where to make them, do it very easily, very quickly. And then you have a high damage gun, low rate of fire, highest damage gun, which is nice. Tachanka, from a beginner's perspective, I'm going to put Tachanka in the B tier just because that gun is so lethal at low ranks. And that is, like Amaru, the main reason. So super, super, super strong weapon. When it comes to Tachanka's ability, you are probably getting absolutely zero value out of it at low ranks. You're probably firing something off and thinking, they can't push now. Haha, got him. I can waste all this time. I can waste a minute and a half with Tachanka's fires. The truth is, when you fire something, the enemy team can just push through it. They can just walk through it and shoot you in the face while your launcher's out. They won't because they're scared. And like you, they don't realize that they can just walk through it. But if you realize that, then you can be prepared for them to walk through it. And if you just switch from your Shamika launcher back to your gun afterwards, you can kind of be aware. But if you're consistently sitting there with it out, you're putting yourself at risk and hurting yourself. So I'd recommend just don't even fucking use the thing and just use the LMG and mow everyone down. Let's go to Thatcher. Let's move on. Thatcher's very great. Very, very great. You know, I'll put him in the S tier. I'll put him in the S tier for beginners. Why? People aren't bandit tricking. People aren't cage tricking at low ranks. So Thatcher is going to counter all of the wall denial and let your team open walls. One of the essential skills of this game is hard breaching on attack, okay? Thatcher helps assist that process and teaches you team play. He'll also teach you to coordinate with your teammates. Say, hey, Thermite, can you get this wall? I'm EMPing it. Then you wait for him, you EMP, he does his thing, you do it together, and you're like, wow, that was beautiful. So that's something he's going to teach you is team play, which is very, very essential in this game. And I would say the same goes for Thermite. Thermite will rely on the Thatcher or on your teammate to get the wall denial. He's got a very manageable gun. He's going to teach you the basic elements of support, which is droning your team, droning the site, and trying to plant the bomb. Something you always want to be doing forever is trying to plant the bomb, because that's the ultimate goal of attack, is plant the bomb and defuse it. And if they're pushing back at you, you're going to get a lot easier kills. So you're switching that time advantage to your favor, and Thermite's someone that will help teach you that. I'm going to put him also in the S tier. Thorn is next. From a beginner's perspective, Thorn's really solid. I mean, it's like Ella, except you don't have to play off the mines as much because they'll probably just get you kills. Now, that won't last for very long, so you're going to have to learn other strategies than just hoping that your Thorn traps get kills, which is the biggest problem. But like Kapkan, you can learn how to just walk around the map and shoot people, and you've got the tools to do it, aka a fantastic gun. She's not quite as good as Kapkan in terms of strength of the ability, but from a beginner's perspective, you're going to be doing okay with her. Her longevity does not last, so again, not going to be very good for very long like Kapkan, but she's going to be really good right off the start. Thunderbird, another healer. Gun, harder to use. The spear has some recoil for sure. It's okay. Plus you have heals. You're going to learn, just to walk around shooting people, which is good. You're also going to learn a lot of power positions with her though. You're going to place these in areas where teammates play frequently, where they're safe, where they're not getting shot. She's not quite the Doc in Finka. She's not quite as good as them, but she is still going to be solid, so I am going to put her in the A tier. Next is Tubero. Versatile operator, very difficult to play well. Would not recommend him for beginners. Putting him in the D tier. That's it. You got a DMR. You also have to know the timings of the freezes, and you're playing a lot of time. In low ranks, we're not really playing time ever. We're playing for kills, or we're trying to plant, and we're not really just running out of time. So he's D tier. I mean, you just don't need him until you're really at like the higher levels of the game. Twitch is next. Twitch is pretty solid. She's like Brava, pretty okay, Her gun has a lot of recoil, which is a downside, and you gotta have to know what operator she counters. A lot of the time you'll sit on your drones, waste a lot of time, and be kind of useless, I think. So, she's kind of she's the same vibe as Brava, just like, yeah, probably just stray away, but you're not gonna do anything wrong by picking her. Then we have Valk, who is like Maestro and Echo, an info operator. Not a passive info operator, an active info operator, with one big difference. She has a C4. And if you play Valk and you set up your cameras, you are going to find not only great camera spots, but you're going to learn where attackers push. You're going to learn how to use these cameras and play off of them. Hopefully, because you can C4 from below, or you can push up off the cameras. Realistically, why are we picking her? If we're not calling out, if we don't know the call outs, if we can't relay that information to our team, if our teammates are dead and not watching cams anyway, it's not going to help. Or they're just going to give bad call outs that actually hurt you more. Again, another just like C tier. Probably not getting value out of it, but you can play her. Vigil's next. He is pretty pretty cool. Enemies don't drone well and don't play off the info well at low ranks, and they're not really getting value out of their drones, so Vigil's ability isn't really doing anything. But you got like the K1A and the SMG-12, which are good guns. The SMG-12, again, if you watch Dokkaebi, it's a little harder. This is like playing Doc, I would say. It's like playing Doc, but you don't have the heals, so you're not going to get as many gunfights, and you don't have as much health. He's like fine. He's like Oryx. Wamai is next. Like Jager, you're going to learn how to stop utility, which is good. You know, protect your team setups. Wamai has a little more versatility, though. Because he has a shotgun, you're going to learn how to do sight setups. You're going to learn how to make lines of sight. And his discs are more versatile in the sense you can throw them around where you're playing. So if you end up somewhere and you're like, oh, this is actually, they're pushing here, now I can throw a disc. Now you can learn to play on the fly, which is great because that's a skill that is going to be very useful. So he's going to be kind of okay, but not really like super good. Kind of like the Oryx situation where like your ability's not doing really anything, but you might feel like you are. And you can't go wrong. And that's the biggest thing. You can't go wrong playing Wamai. You can go wrong playing Clash. You can go wrong playing Valk if your teams are giving bad calls. You can go wrong with a Mira by giving the enemies a Mira. You can go wrong with Castle. Really, really wrong. Don't blink Castle. But in the B tier, you can't go wrong. You know what I'm saying? We got Warden next, who also can't go wrong. I mean, you just turn him on if you're flashbanged or you're smoked, and you're going to learn to use your ability if it comes to a time where that's necessary. Most of the time you won't. Like Vigil, like Oryx, like Wamai. You're just going to be walking around with a gun, and that is just fine. So we're going to put him right there. Ying is next. Ying is hard, okay? Ying is a hard operator. If you want to play Ying well, you have to push off of the flashes and the smokes. You need to learn to smoke off the important lines of sight and flash the people that you're pushing to gain the space. Which means you have to also know there's a person there ahead of time, which means you have to know how to drone to gather the information and be able to play off that information. That is all very hard. That is all not beginner friendly. That is all difficult. She is a very strong operator once you learn that, but it's still going to be hard to learn even while playing Ying. I would recommend the Striker a lot more than I would recommend the Ying. I think Ying's an operator that could go wrong. You could waste your utility. You could be completely useless. You could think you're doing something but not actually do anything at all. So I'm going to put her in the D. Next is Zero. Like Valk, this is active information, but on attack. I do not think that you should be playing Zero if you don't know how to drone. Instead of picking Zero to compensate for the fact that you suck at gaining information, you need to force yourself to drone every single round and learn how to do it properly. Shoot a Zero cam under the breach, get the bandit off, and then go hard breach it afterwards. But the truth is, you should not be able to do that because the defender should shoot your camera. So you're building and developing really, really, really bad habits that are screwing you over later in the game. This is why every Zero player gets hard stuck in Emerald. So yeah, if you want to get to Emerald, play Zero. The problem is you're going to have to relearn the entire game once you're there because you didn't learn the skills that are actually useful later on. So I'm going to put Zero in the F tier. I think this is an operator that will hurt you as a player if you are playing them consistently. Zofia is next. Zofia is like Ashe, except you have 2 stuns. Playing off the stuns, is you're probably not going to do it. You're probably not using the stuns very well, but they are nice if you want to like burn an ADS first so that you're not wasting your impacts. But like Ashe, you're just breaking stuff. Her gun is a little harder than Ashe. She's not as good as Ashe. She's a little slower because she's a 3 armor, so she doesn't have that speed. Because her gun is a lot more difficult, I have to put her either low A or high B. I'm leaning towards the high B side of things. She's still going to be fine. You're not going to hurt yourself by playing her, and she's like an okay pick. Skopos is our last operator. Skopos has the 2 bots. You can teleport between the 2. Great for roaming. Very difficult to use well. But with that being said, her gun is extremely good, and she has 2 pools of health. So here's how you're going to play Skopos as a beginner to make her an A tier operator, okay? You're going to set up 1 bot off of this, or sorry, 1 bot on the site. On the bomb site, you're going to have 1 bot. The other bot, you're going to run around and try to get a kill. Because you have a great gun, you're going to take fights and try to kill someone. Once you take damage with that bot, switch to your other one, you have a full health pool again, okay? So she's kind of like Doc, except you got a better gun, and you can kind of learn how to play off of the bots as well. So the other thing you can do is you can sit on site behind your bot and use it as this mirror window to peek off the top, or like an Osa shield, for example. You peek over top of it and you pre-fire people, and you have this element of cover, which teaches you other better things, and you have impacts for rotates, and you're going to learn a little bit, and she's going to be a pretty good pick for you as a beginner. So that's my beginner tier list. I hope this helps you succeed as a beginner. Best of luck. This is a difficult game. I've got lots of other guides on my channel. 5 things I wish I knew before I started playing Rainbow Six Siege is this video over here on your left, and the other one is another video that YouTube thinks is like, hey, go watch that. So enjoy. Thank you for watching. Peace out.